Hi, this is your astronomer from Helsinki, and I'm testing this software. So I think you're not supposed to have a chat feature here right now. Hide, enter chat. No, it looks like there is a chat. Oh well. Anyway, I'm testing this Prism Studio for making live videos, and I wanted to talk to you about science. All right, so because as a scientist, you use logical thinking, logical analysis. Usually, there is some creativity involved, but you have to be able to recognize patterns, recognize if things are equal on each side of the equal sign, like 2 + 2 = 4. Of course, there are exceptions, but you have to do objective thinking. And that now I am in a male-dominated field: astronomy, physics, astronomy, engineering, technology, coding, mathematics. These are male-dominated. And even if some fields are not male-dominated, as you go higher up, things get male-dominated. Anyway, but one of the things that people use against women, they say, oh, you're too emotional, you cannot take a question like in a seminar, or you cannot present, if you are, it's like a double-edged sword, you cannot get it right. If you are too passive, you're not a leadership material. If you take forward some issue, activity, then you are too aggressive. If you are too calculating and analytical, you are a cold-hearted B ****. So every behavior, there is something negative associated with it. If it's a woman, while it's okay for a man to think analytically, but for a woman it's not okay to think or calculate analytically, whatever. So, however, it is one way, regardless you're man or woman or what, when you're discussing science, it is good to disassociate. Science can be wrong. You can do wrong things. You can make mistakes in science. You can have assumptions, and it has to be tested. And even if a theory is correct at one point, it can be proven wrong later. However, some people, and I will talk about astronomers because that's what I worked with, astronomy, in an astronomy context. In an astronomy context, some people, based on experience, doesn't matter the gender, get really attached to some idea, to their research, and regardless of their academic rank. Milan, hi, is not for comments. Sorry, I tried to do comments, but I tried to disable comments, but it didn't work. I'm testing a new Prism software, so I'm not responding right now. Didn't work. You can join another channel where they go back and forth. I'm not responding here to comments right now. Just testing software. So some people in astronomy, regardless of their academic rank, they get really married to the ideas or their research, like personally attached. So even if you dare question them about the topics they're presenting, they take it as an offense. Even though it's normal to ask questions in science. So they get upset, or it's like you are personally attacking them. But no, so you have to learn the skill of disassociation, disassociating you from the topic you are studying. You can be passionate about it, and you can believe in the idea that's okay, but you have to be able to demonstrate its validity. You have to be able to demonstrate its validity using normal analytical processes. So not just like, I believe it, oh no, this is it. You have to prove, you have to be able to test. And it is great to test and question. And actually, I find it very easy to discuss science and discuss a topic because, okay, let's say I did analysis and I tested some parameters I didn't test. Sometimes you have to make a call, or I presented and I didn't think about this point, and somebody says, oh, you know, you can do this or you can do that, you can improve here. Oh, but that's okay. I can look and say, I don't say, oh yeah, I made a mistake, oh my god, horrible, it's so, I'm so ashamed in front of everybody that I didn't do this or I did do this, and start yelling at the person that you did it right. No, I can say, okay, you are saying, you can repeat the question, you can repeat the comment. Okay, you are stating, because you want to make sure you understand and you heard what the person said exactly, because you maybe think you heard something. So let's say they said you should test this end of the parameter A in order, for example, low mass galaxies. You should test it for low mass galaxies because at the low mass regime something happens, the behavior is not right, or it can go either way. There's several theories, and you didn't test it for some reason. Okay, then you can say, okay, thank you for your comment. You can thank them or not. You can say, okay, you said that here on this plot I showed the distribution, and on the axis is the mass of the galaxy, and you're saying there's too much scatter or whatever, we should test it more for the low mass regime, and you can discuss it, not as it's an offense, but yes, there is a gap in knowledge, or, you know, we did the test but they didn't agree. Yeah, I agree with you. This is an area that could be improved anyway, in one paper, into 2 papers, even in 10 papers. You cannot address all the questions, you know. Every single paper brings a little drop of knowledge, a little drop of information. It's not a major information, it's a drop of information. So otherwise papers would be like books, you know, it's only 5-6 pages, maybe 20 pages. A typical astronomy paper, you cannot discuss everything. Sometimes you have to make calls, and you can present it that yes, the data is showing this. Yes, you are saying that the low mass regime it behaves this way, the high mass regime it behaves this way, but you disassociate yourself from the topic. So it is an important skill that you discuss objectively your own science, the science that you have done, even though your sweat and tears are poured into it, that you are able to have a science discussion and poke holes by yourself or in various audiences, and to be able to without getting emotionally involved, discuss the topic, you know, based on objectivity, based on analysis. So sometimes people get worried, the beginning students, to present something because they are afraid that, you know, they might not know something, or they are not experts in the field. They haven't done it for 20 plus years. And if anybody criticizes you for that, they're a bad person. Sorry. It is perfectly okay to say, let's say you never thought about the low mass regime of galaxies in these particular scenarios that you're studying. You can say, I agree that this is an interesting question because it is an interesting question to study dwarf galaxies, etc. Small galaxies with not so large of a mass. But so I don't know. I haven't looked into it. It is a perfectly reasonable, perfectly acceptable answer to say, I don't know. You can say, I can, do you have? You can ask them a question. For example, you can ask them a question. Have you looked into the low mass regime yourself? Do you have some information? I would love to hear it. Or we can chat it during the coffee if it's, end of the seminar. Maybe they have done it. And then you can have the discussion, or we can a collaboration. Maybe you'll decide later to work with that person on the low mass regime. It's okay to not know the answer or to ask the person if they know it. After you answer a question, you can always, as a kindness, check yourself by saying, this is what I'm thinking, and let's say you haven't tested it, but you have idea. You say, I haven't tested it, but I think it's going to behave this way at the low mass regime based on this. That's how I'm making my hunch. Does it answer your question? It's always good to check back with the questioner. Are you happy with the answer? Or is there something else you were looking for to hear? And if it's a quirky question, let's say somebody says, oh no, I don't believe it. You can, even though you are a presenter, you don't have to be the encyclopedia of answers. It's actually a discussion. So if they have some quirky answer or some quirky comment or question about your, like with strings attached, you can also ask them a question before answering to poke a little bit more. You can say, why are you asking? Did you read this paper? Or are you thinking about this theory? That's what you are thinking about? Or it is, low mass regime. It has never been observed there. Don't you think? I don't know. I'm not saying it good. Let me think. I have done it. For example, you have tested, or it's written that you have tested something and it's a small difference. And they keep saying that, why aren't you discussing this point more, the difference in masses? And you can say, well, we have tested and the difference is small. Why do you expect it to be different? Why do you expect it to have a big effect on the final result? You can go back and forth. It's okay. Now it's hard to do out of the blue, but you can ask a question, a variety of type of questions to the person who asked you a question. Even before giving any other answer, you can ask them a question to double check, to challenge them to think, because it's not always, especially if you are having fun, intellectual stimulation, it's not always that you have to answer the question. You might tease them a little bit to get their brains working, especially if you are in a class. Well, sometimes if it's not even in a class, just a seminar, just to have fun with the topic, you can lead them to an answer by asking them a question. Like, well, it's at a low redshift regime. We don't have, super massive black holes that are super luminous at this. Why? Why are you asking? So you can ask them back a question. So it can be intellectually stimulating. And I have no problem if somebody is poking holes in my research, because I want to poke hole in my research because I want to find out the truth. So that's why there is a seminar to discuss it. However, since humans are humans and some of them are bad, they ask you questions with strings attached, and it's not always for information or pure scientific discussion. Sometimes you might recognize or not, it is with an intent to put you down, or to put your research group down, or to single out your gender or whatever you are associated with as a personal person. And you have to be careful. So this is real life. remember even Jesus, so it's a Christian comment now, even Jesus, who was teaching about God, was questioned by the Pharisees, but not nicely. They were trying to poke holes to find a way to, compromise him. Like they brought that woman who was caught cheating. So, but what did he do? So if you see that you are in this kind of awful situation where they are trying to target you and their intent is not, they're playing dirty basically, then you can use whatever technique you want. You don't have to answer the question, or you can answer whatever street technique you want to deal with mean people. So I just want to point it out that sometimes scientists will ask you a question, but it's not, their intent is bad. It's not just to get information, so you have to be aware. So anyway, but hopefully you learn this main point when you discuss your science paper, your science project with the public or with yourself, that you dissociate and look at it objectively and not get emotional. Oh my God, I made a mistake, I'm horrible. It's okay to make mistakes. And you can say, yeah, this should have been done this way. Yes, there is a room for improvement, which is true. You're not like a superwoman or superman. You can make mistakes. You can, in one paper, not address all questions of science. And you can not know something. There's a lot of knowledge out there. It doesn't mean you're a bad scientist. It means you're a good scientist. And good scientists are able to be confident in themselves even when they don't know the answer, even when they made a mistake. And if somebody says otherwise, they're not a good scientist. God bless you.